Hi, this is John in behalf of IamGodfather.com for a 4-part series on creating a WordPress theme. So I'm going to start with the basics and the requirements for you to build your first WordPress theme. So I am assuming that you know WordPress and you are here to study the structure because of a project, or you're just curious of how WordPress works and would like to design a theme. So the series will tackle WordPress theme creation from the basic phase of development onto the advanced topics that one might encounter in the future. Of course, this will not only be enjoyable on your part, but onto your audience as well. So if you're already aware of how WordPress works and would skip the first part of this series, then please proceed to the next episode where we will be tackling the files and the beginning of how we will create a WordPress theme. However, if you are just starting WordPress design, then please continue listening. Let's get started. So, of course, we need requirements before we proceed. So first of all, if you're working locally or on the web, you will need a web server. If you're on the web, then I am assuming you already have one. If you want WordPress on the web and you do not have a web hosting, there are plenty of free web hostings out there. Take note that WordPress also hosts free WordPress blogs on wordpress.com. I'm saying a lot of WordPress. Before we begin, we need to have the latest WordPress build, that word again. You can get your hands on a copy from wordpress.org, or if you are on a cPanel hosting, you could install it directly under Fantastico on your cPanel dashboard. Installation of WordPress is easy and only takes at least 3 minutes of your time, depending on your connection, of course. With all this in mind, you, who is interested in this endeavor, must already know the prerequisites. Of course, you must first know the basics of HTML and CSS. Although JavaScript is used on advanced pages, advanced design, we will discuss that further along the topics. Most importantly, you must know PHP, as this is the language that WordPress is built on. As every designer and developer knows, you must have tools in your arsenal for effective work design and development. Of course, as WordPress is considered to be a web application, it needs a web browser as its display. I am assuming you know what a browser is. If not, the browser is where you are watching this video right now. If you do not know what a browser is, then this tutorial is not for you. It is advisable that you upgrade to the latest stable builds or versions of your favorite browser. You will need a text editor or a what you see is what you get editor to create template files for WordPress. You may use Dreamweaver by Adobe or any similar applications as long as you're comfortable with using it. This will serve as your coding and designing tool as you progress. For this series, we will use Notepad++ to clearly emphasize the code instead of relying on the easy way of creating templates. This is crucial if you want images for your design. You can also create your own images here so that it may be used in your design later. For this tutorial, we will be using the ever-so-loved Adobe Photoshop CS4. An image editor is also great for referencing colors you want on your design. Before we begin our design, I must emphasize that one must follow rules in coding HTML, PHP, or CSS. This will be beneficial not only to you, but to others who will be using and reading your creation. You must properly close elements in HTML and properly put semicolons on CSS. Leaving unclosed elements will often lead to undesired results without you knowing it. Organize and name your elements semantically. You may label your header with div-1, but you cannot understand that when you're working on your CSS design. It is better to know that you are labeling your header a class of header rather than div-1 to prevent confusion. Also, provide proper names to elements that will be used in your design. Indentation is key to readable and beautiful code. You must properly indent your code in any of your files to help it to become more understandable by you and the ones who will be using your theme. Actually, there are a lot of functions that are present to your theme files provided by WordPress. These files will help your design to function normally in future and/or previous versions of WordPress. Also, these functions do not only do that, but makes it easier for you, the designer, to focus on design rather than the code. So again, this is John in behalf of IamGodfather.com saying stay safe and don't be afraid to express yourself.